Hi guys, this is Geeks Assembled. Live long and prosper. We are going to discuss Picard, the new series on CBS All Access, or however you find it, because it's a chore sometimes to find these things, and it stars Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. And with me here is Geeks Assembled. Aren't you glad you're back with us? Yeah, and so this week we've reviewed Colin Baker, who was in Star Trek, and Star Trek Continues. And now we're into Star Trek, and we're talking about this new series where he's found some magical things. Well, no, not magic, because there is no magic in Star Trek. It's very scientific. Anyway, I hope that you are ready for this. Let's get some opening thoughts, why don't we, on the new CBS series Picard. Let's begin with Susan Wyman, because she has been super excited for this series and has enjoyed it, I think. So, but yes. I'll let her say.
Absolutely. This is grown-up sci-fi at its very, very best. It's really an example of how to bring back an iconic character, give it lots of background, twist it around while having them remain rooted in their past. I really enjoyed it. It has been slower than some people would like. However, I think it's for adults, and I think that's why that they took such craft in putting it together. I think in order for this story to play out, it needed all that time and all that background in order to understand and be able to understand when they finally get the ship and leave, why they're doing it and how he got there at least. So I'm really excited for this series. It's only just beginning, and they've already got a second series planned. So let's just hope he stays alive long enough to keep doing it. That's my concern, because he's a vibrant gentleman, but he is getting up there. So I love it. I think it's great, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Okay.
Thanks, Susan. And Aled, you were pretty excited about this. So what's your opening thoughts?
Well, think about the Emoji Movie, and then think about the character that Patrick Stewart played. And that pretty much sums it up.
I don't think I've ever seen the Emoji Movie.
Sorry, I haven't either.
Yeah, I did.
He played shit.
Yeah.
He played shit.
He plays the pool.
And frankly, this is shit.
Okay, well, I just lay it right out there.
I just say it as it is.
Just lay it right out there.
It is so boring.
Do you know the background? Do you know Next Generation? Are you a Trek person?
No. I've the only one I've ever watched is Discovery. But I don't know. I've never watched the original he was in.
Right.
It was just so boring. There was so much dialogue. There was so much talking.
God forbid.
It was obviously making reference. It was obviously making references to the past. Which, if you're a fan, it would have been interesting and amazing, and that's great. But if you're just somebody who's never seen it before, it just goes over your head.
Okay, well, that's fair enough.
Yeah, and just nothing happened. I was just sitting there thinking, something please happen. All he's doing is walking around a vineyard with a dog. I mean, for crying out loud, something happens eventually, obviously, but not in the first episode, and I just gave up. I just thought, no, I'm not sitting for any more of this.
Oh,
so
you didn't watch the second?
I gave the first episode
that we're discussing today.
Yeah, but I gave the first episode a try.
Aled gives up too easily.
Yeah, you can't do that. You got to keep going.
But I gave it 50 minutes.
That's like watching one episode of Doctor Who and coming in and out of episodes.
But all it was just him waking up. He just dozes off every 5 minutes.
Well, you do
I
it
mean,
without.
what was the interest in that? Okay, where he's gone back to sleep. Now he's woke up again. Oh, now he's gone back to
It
sleep.
is a
Oh, he's having
different
a walk
kind of
around the
sci-fi.
yard with his dog. Oh, look, there's a little painting. You know,
I could have used
wonderful.
more from the dog. I liked the dog. And
Well,
they wanted to have more from the dog, but the dog wasn't exactly well trained, so they couldn't get any more dog in it. So that's why.
All right.
Yeah, it was
So-
less of a number one and more of a number two.
All right.
So
So
we
let's
get it. You think it sucks?
move on to Lee. What did you think of the opening of Picard?
Well, I've watched all 3 episodes so far. First episode, for the first episode, I thought, am I going to like this older Picard, slower Picard? As the episode's going, yeah, it's still the same guy, but he's in his later years, and as we found out, he's dying. But yeah, there is references to the old series, but he's, as Susie says, it's taken 3 episodes to get the ship, to get the crew together. Now they're heading out into the stars, as his last words in episode 3 was engage. And then the next gen music played. I thought, wow, yeah, we're back again. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I did think on the first episode with the data appearing and going to sleep, waking up, going to sleep. For 1 minute, I thought, is Picard still in the Nexus from the generation?
That could have been true. That could have very much been true. That's a good point.
I thought, if that's the case, wow. I'm going to bring Shatner back in episode 8.
Hey, but then we would have got William Shatner back too, so that would have been interesting.
I've enjoyed it so far, and as I said before we did the cast, hopefully in 3-4 weeks' time we could come back and discuss the next as it goes along. Yeah, the acting's brilliant in this as well. Some new faces. As Susie said, it's for a mature, it's for older, because you do have a lot of swearing. There's swearing in this. I was taken aback when someone told him to F in front of Picard's face. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's getting the feel now of the next gen Star Trek, and I'm looking forward to seeing a few old faces reappearing in the next few episodes as well. So that's my opening thoughts, Susan.
All right, thanks. And let's start with Jake and Bradley then, and then we'll go to you, Alex.
I'm very much in the same boat as Alid is, as someone who hasn't seen much of Star Trek. So I didn't really get any of the references in some of the episodes. I wouldn't say it was boring. I enjoyed it. It was a good jumping on point, I think. Someone who has, well, kind of, if you know the basics. Like, all I really knew is what the Borgs were, to be honest. I don't know the difference between the Vulcan and these elf people, whatever what are they called? Romulans, thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll stick with it, see where it goes. But it's not necessarily my cup of tea.
Okay, so I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen every Next Generation episode, but I have seen quite a lot, and I'm a big fan of like Picard, and it was like great to see him back. And after, I didn't like Star Trek Discovery, so when this was announced, I had hopes. And
That was such a dig at Elliot.
so after this, I think Star Trek's actually back.
Yeah, I liked.
Be careful what you say, because you're below me and I could hit you on the head.
All right. Choose Alex.
Yeah, I sort
Sorry,
of
I hit
agree.
Susie
I
by
didn't.
accident, but-
I didn't. There wasn't a lot that I liked about Discovery. I only liked a few characters, and I didn't like the main character. And I also didn't like the Klingons. But again, I'm not really a Star Trek person.
I know.
I like Spock and I like Bones, and that's about it. I have seen The Next Generation, also partially because she likes to watch it. It's a little slower, and good grief, he did admit in talk shows that it's going to be slower. I mean, they don't want to Star Trek The Next Generation altogether, even though he is connected. I don't like the swearing, but that's just me. But again, he's older. He is wiser, and he does have a lot of guts, even for all his talking. So it's a little slow. I don't know about the data. What is it? Father, not father, son and daughter.
Daughters.
Yeah.
Daughters. Is it daughters and one son? I don't know.
2 daughters.
2 daughters. Okay.
2 daughters. The one
Um.
died.
Yeah. I mean, also too. I don't know if to me, I'm not sure if they're trying to imitate Marvel just a little bit.
Oh, he had a daughter in the old series.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I
did he?
know. But
Yeah,
well, we're talking about.
His
But
daughter, her name was Law.
yeah, but did she look like this person, or was it a
Yes,
totally
she
different
did.
person? Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I
she did look
apologize
like
then.
this person. In fact,
Okay.
I figured it out before they revealed it.
I mean, the next gen. Who did I like? I liked the Doctor. I liked the Doctor in the Next Generation.
We're
I
not going through
liked
the entire
all
cast, are
that
we,
stuff.
Alex?
Yeah, I only liked a few of them. But I know Patrick Stewart is a very good actor, and he's got a great voice. But again, I don't know. I don't know. It must be tough for him because he has sort of been typecast.
Not really.
But I understand that he wanted it a little different, and that's fine. But yeah, I would like it to be a little quicker. But I'll watch it. I just won't make a point of watching it. That's all.
You'll watch it if it's on, if Susan's watching it.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
If you've got
Well,
no
that's what-
choice.
We know
That's
that
fair.
we're going to watch it. So.
That's fair. Okay. Let's. The cast was interesting. It had Michelle Hurd, who is, starting to be a force, and then there's Alison Pill, who played Dr. Agnes Durrati, and she was also really, she's really cool. And Harry Treadaway, who was in not Peaky Blinders, in what's it called?
Penny Dreadful.
Penny Dreadful, exactly. That's the one. And then there was David Paymer, who was in a whole bunch of TV shows in the United States. He was in movies, Get Shorty, and in the TV show On Becoming a God in Central Florida, which is one that we've enjoyed in this house. And so, there was some great people in it, and it's looking like it's going to be really fun, really action-packed, especially when they take on an old dead Borg cube where, Picard had Locutus implants in his face.
Cool.
And the whole thing with Data is, all this stuff, all these throwbacks to Nemesis, Star Trek Nemesis, Star Trek movie number 10 was like, had all these throws back to that movie. So you can tell this takes off after a break, but in the same timeline, in the same storyline, because there are now divergent storylines, and unlike Doctor Who, which you can do things and then come back to things and then loop back around, in Star Trek, if a separate timeline forms, then things go a different direction, and they can go way different directions. And I think that some of me thinks that that's what happened with Discovery, is that it's just another whole timeline. But that's just because of the anachronism or the apocryphal stuff in Pike's timeline that doesn't make sense to where he came from in the books that we read before. But anyway, that's just books, and I don't know, it's all weird. But these are just timelines, and that's just what I'm thinking. So in this podcast, I think we should talk about our favorite moments, if you would like to. Let's begin with let's flip the order. Bradley, what's your favorite moment?
Sorry.
Okay. I got like a few like favorite moments, but it's mainly like the callbacks. Like
Which I don't understand.
it was the opening scene where you see the Enterprise D, you see Picard and Data in next gen uniforms, like in thinking 10 forward.
And the song he was singing.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed all that sort of callbacks.
Oh, my turn. Oh, I was quite surprised. I recognised a lot of the actors and actresses. The elf slave woman, I can't remember what her name was. She was Tasha Lem. She was Tasha Lem in Doctor Who, Time of the Doctor.
She was.
The elf man slave was the lead vampire in an American program called The Passage. The blonde doctor lady played the psycho lesbian wife from American Horror Story Cult, and that's the people I recognised. But I did quite enjoy it. What bits did I enjoy? Because I don't know, I can't really remember what happened, to be honest. But it's good for like jumping on. I can't really talk much about it because I don't really understand the lore of the show. No, I like the Borg stuff. I like that. There we go.
All right.
All right, cool. And let's go. Who was next? I don't know. Let's go to Alad next.
Nothing.
All right. What did you not like?
I didn't enjoy a single moment.
All right.
It was all excruciatingly boring.
All right.
Okay, but you remember you've only watched one episode too, so.
Yeah, and it was excruciatingly boring.
Okay then.
Susan.
I'm just very grateful I didn't watch the other two.
Susan.
Okay. Well, I agree with Bradley. The opening, and Susan, the opening of tying Nemesis, which was the last time we saw them, into the opening dream sequence was really quite spectacular, with the Gershwin tune playing, and it was just brilliant the way that they did that. And I'm really going to love every time I see a Romulan now. I'm going to think elf slave stuff. That's brilliant, actually. It's really fun.
I should just write the show.
Sexy. Sexy elf.
You've
sexy
set
elf
Susie
people
off now.
Played by ex-nun or something. Okay, that's brilliant. But let me see. What's interesting is some things that I found out is Picard seems to really be ashamed of the fact that Data died for him. And it's been a very traumatic thing for him, his best friend, in case you didn't understand what's been happening. When last we saw him, his best friend gave up his life for Picard's. And we see that has affected him much deeper than anybody ever thought Picard could be affected by something, because people die in Starfleet all the time, hence the term red shirt. But the whole thing, I think it's brilliant that they went through and they brought back the storyline of Data wanting to have a child, because there was an episode where Data made a daughter called Lal, and she died in that episode. It wasn't quite perfect, but and I've been rewatching TNG to refresh my brain, and all throughout, I mean, the Bruce Maddox guy they're looking for, he's a scientist that wanted to basically dissect Data to figure out how he worked, and he didn't win that argument. But it's all tied into Data wanting to have daughter, and this whole trek that Picard is currently on is basically to help his best friend's daughter. So it's really, I find it incredibly engaging. But I really just love almost all of it. There's nothing in here I don't like, so that's okay. I'm sorry it doesn't have any snowmen, Alex. I know if we put a snowman in there, it would be.
You just made him sigh.
No Disney princesses either.
I know. No, well, you never know.
It's outrageous, Susie. How
But
dare you suggest something?
Each episode had a mind-blowing event. Like all of a sudden at the end of the first episode, you see the twin of Data's daughter. And yes, Alan said the only interesting thing was the part where the girl died. And that was cool. She jumped up like a flight of stairs and was blown up. Then you find out she's got a twin. But the twin is a psychiatrist working in a Borg cube research center. And so at the end,
full of slave elves.
the slave elves. Sorry, but that is just brilliant. Full of slave elf, which is really a dichotomy because you see the two of them together, probably the two worst enemies of the Federation in this. It was just sort of blew my mind. But then the second episode, Susan, what was the second part when it ended that blew your mind? It was that, and then
Is Jake all right?
He went to his friend's house and he brought the wine and he's like, I need a ship.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, give me a damn ship. She was like, you know, I need a damn ship. You can't ask me for a damn ship unless you got this certain kind of wine. Do you got this certain kind of wine?
and she goes, you don't know if she's going to shoot him or not because that's all off in this brand new world. Yeah. And it was interesting that when he needed to go find the ship to go out and rescue Data's daughter, the elf slaves suggested that he call his old crew, but he decided not to do that because he didn't want any of them, who he also still loves very deeply, to risk their lives for him. So I don't know what that says about Rafi, but he wanted somebody.
I don't know if he really cares about her at all, but anyway, we'll find out.
They call her, and she is brilliant. And
all right, so we have to throw this over to Lee now.
Go.
Yeah, throw it to Lee.
I mean, the ending of episode 1, I just went, my jaw dropped when the Borg cube just, you know, just I thought, wow, because I love the Borg. I think they're brilliant. The opening credits, it's got me. There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah,
the DNA, the Picard, the flake of the skit going into Picard's face and thinking.
Even they were boring.
I mean, shut up, Alan. It's my go.
Shut up, Wesley.
Makes you wonder why these things are going into Picard's face. Now, wild theory, is Picard a synthetic?
I don't know.
Because it's just there. It's all this DNA.
All the way you think because of what the opening credits said.
Going into, I'm thinking, well, why would they do that? There must be some clues in the credits.
Maybe he's becoming more synthetic because of the Borg implants.
Maybe so. Why bring the Borg? There's got to be something.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah. I do like the friendships he's building. Now he's got a captain of the ship as well. He was quite good with the hollow doctor or whatever you call him.
Hey, Lee.
What?
Did you change my name?
No. And what was I saying?
Did you change my name?
Anyway.
Yeah. But also as well, I like the dog as well, as it's been mentioned.
Yes.
That breed is banned in the UK.
Number 1.
That's exactly why Patrick Stewart wanted it to be on his show.
Yeah, banned in the UK. Yeah.
Because it's banned in the UK.
Yeah.
It's his way of protesting it.
Naming it number 1. Okay, I can understand people saying, well, I'm not sure what was going on. You do have to have a bit of knowledge from the movies and the previous series, but as Jake said, it's a good jumping on point as well.
But the only reason that you need that knowledge from the old series is to know that it's still in the same timeline. After that point, you're just like, oh, there's this guy and there's this girl and there's this girl and there's this thing and there's this cube thing and like, who the hell knows what any of that means? But you can just go with it. Go with that thought.
I've got also as well. Is it Commodore or Admiral O?
Yeah, the bad guy.
Sexy elf man.
The Vulcan.
Sexy elf man. Woman.
Yeah, she had a word with that doctor. She turned up unexpectedly that doctor.
You
And then all of a
misgendered,
sudden,
Jake.
that doctor appeared at Picard's house. Now, I wouldn't trust that doctor.
I know. It's really weird why she would tell her and then go.
Yeah, so she
And why Picard would let her on the ship.
I think she's working for the Admiral or whatever her name was.
Very possible.
So,
And she works for this company, this scientific research facility that's been mentioned about as many times in Star Trek as UNIT is mentioned in Doctor Who. I mean, Daystrom Institute has been mentioned like all the way since I think the original series. It's fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird how they set it up that people want stuff. I don't know what the androids want, because the one android daughter was going to go to the Daystrom Institute.
Yeah. That's
so I don't know what the androids are doing and why they just appeared in the last 3 years. And I'm sorry, we interrupted Lee.
No. It's I think there's going to be more synthetics.
Yeah. So let's just talk about that. What do you think about the synthetics, the androids? What happened to piss them off and so that they killed everybody on Mars?
I think they were programmed. I think somebody like the Romulan.
They were creepy.
Did
it. Somebody flipped the switch and they activated something. So who did that? We don't know yet. But the creepy and synthetics on Mars. Apparently, the guy who played the main one was a cosplayer, and he did Data a lot.
Yes,
wow.
yes.
I didn't know that. Wow, that rocks.
They put him in the series. So.
Oh, that rocks. That's wonderful. I had no idea. And that brings up a whole other thing about. And I lost my train of thought.
Okay, so what do you think about the synthetics? Do you think that that something went on with the Data, with what was going on with Data?
I think.
Do you think it had to do with like what went on with the Noonien Singh Institute? What do you think about all these synthetics and their issues?
Well, I think the synthetics in Mars, as I said, I think a little bit ago, I think that was on that Romulan secret society that hates synthetics. For some reason, I don't think they wanted this rescue effort to happen, and they figured they would kill two birds with one stone. So they figured out how to get into the head of the working synthetics, which, since you asked me what do I think about these synthetics, that whole setup harkens back to an episode from Voyager. If you recall, the EMH from Voyager had his own little thing on his arm where he could walk around not in the holograms. And Star Trek had started to, or the Federation had started to use his program for workers in caves and stuff. And they all went on strike and there was this big movement. So that whole synthetic thing on Mars harkens back to that episode in Voyager. So there's a lot more going on here than, just TNG.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually very complex. But I totally get it. If you've seen all the series and you kind of know what you're watching. The only series I really did not like was Enterprise. I couldn't watch it. And I was fond of series 1 of Discovery, not so much series 2 or season 2. But I do know all the rest of it to the best of my knowledge. I wouldn't call myself a super expert at all, but I know the plot lines and like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And for me, it's just beyond exciting. And it does increase your enjoyment of this show if you were a fan, but you definitely can jump in. You just have to. TNG and most Trek shows were basically made for prepubescent boys, and I can recall watching them with mostly all boys, and none of them understood why this, woman was into this. But this show is not. It didn't come from that background. It honors that background and takes all that information, but turns it into highbrow drama for the most part. And I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, Alex, do you have favorite moments?
Well, like I said, like I said, I do know that Patrick Stewart's a good actor. I can't recall what that woman that was always drinking wine. I know she's a good actress. Was it also part of the episode when they're on the ship and the android kind of goes crazy and starts shooting everybody or
That was on
commits
Mars.
suicide
that
or
was
whatever?
on Mars.
Yeah.
It was on
So
Mars.
that was sort of interesting.
The explanation.
Probably just the pacing. I don't know about the plot, and I know they're trying to do it backwards or whatever, forwards, to try to make it more interesting. I mean, that is basically a lot of series do that now, and they have episodes that are filler by just taking everything really slowly, or they show the middle of the story and then they go backwards and forwards, and then you sort of see the point of the story. I think they're probably trying to do that also here. I don't know how many episodes it is, but I'm willing to bet that they're probably gonna 10. So the usual,
Good.
the
I thought it
usual,
was just 8.
yeah. So they're probably gonna take their time with this. I do like the fact that he's not really with the Federation anymore. I like that. So that's a little bit like Doctor Who and Blake Seven, that they're not
Blake
they're
Seven,
not with
yeah.
the Federation. Even though Blake Seven almost got sued for stealing the, not to mention that Space Force thing. But yeah, I mean, so it has potential. It definitely does. I think it's probably the pacing and the not telling a linear story, which I think I would enjoy more if it was a little faster. But yeah, I mean, even he said, even Stewart said on talk shows that he wanted it different. He wanted it more adult. He wanted it slower. He didn't want to do just another type of Next Generation, even though he does have a lot of the characters coming back. So,
Well, he
but
honors
that,
the
yeah,
fandom who's grown up. You know, the fandom
yeah,
has
and
grown up
it
now.
yeah, it is kind of nice that he's an admiral, but I guess he won't be enjoying it for too long because the Federation seems to have a problem with him.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to 7 of 9 coming back.
Yeah.
Yes. That's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, but wasn't she in Voyager or something?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly right. She was in Voyager.
She wasn't in Next Generation, was she?
No, not at all.
She's in this.
Yep.
Well, it's sort of funny that I know about these characters even though I don't watch the show regularly.
But remember the android, did you see all 3 episodes, Alex?
Yeah, I think I did.
So the Borg that came to talk to Data's still alive daughter, right, in the cube, his name was Hugh, and he was in Next Generation. So he was a Borg that they helped release from the collective. And now he's working in this sexy elf people cube. I just think that's brilliant. Sexy elf slave cube, and helping to restore everybody. So they did have one of those kind of, he was the first 7 of 9 type character. Well, actually, no, in truth, Picard would have been the first 7 of 9 type character, but he recovered quickly because he'd only been aboard for a week.
And then Data himself was a 7 of 9 type character because he was plugged into during First Contact, he was plugged into the Borg sphere there.
Why you would say that? Yeah, that was creepy with the skin. Oh.
So if he was plugged into the Borg thing,
very briefly.
There's something else remain there in the Borg system.
Well,
or in his daughter, is there Borg in the daughter?
Well, see, this is what we don't know. Why is the daughter there? And why was the other one?
And how is it that the daughter had the extrapolation of her whole being from one positronic relay?
Well, that's sort of like the seed. That's like the seed that built them in a way. It's like the one DNA strand.
Bit too much like replicators to me from Stargate, but anyway.
We'll not know.
Well,
we have
humans are made from sperm and egg. You know, it doesn't take much.
Jeez.
Well, no, it's true. You know, it's not. Oh, can't talk about reproduction. You know, it's just like it was.
The main question is from the 3rd episode is she has seen her before from tomorrow, and she knows who she is. She's the destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it was from the 2. Everybody keeps calling her. She's the destroyer. Why are they after her? Because she's the destroyer. We don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know
Destroy
if that
it.
means that she was somehow involved in Mars, or she's going to destroy someone else, or she destroyed the. We don't know what that means yet.
Yep.
Yeah. Not yet.
All right.
I'm so
So
excited by this.
let's land this podcast. Why don't we and give our final say and score? Let's go to Alid first. I want to go from least to most.
Oh no, you don't want to go to
Shit,
me.
shit.
You don't want to go to me.
I have to.
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna be generous, okay? Because I understand that some people like it, and I understand that it's well made, and I understand that Patrick Stewart is great, and you know I love Patrick Stewart. He's in a lot of stuff that I love. I mean, he's one of the best things about the X-Men films, etc. He's just one of the best actors ever. So I'm going to give it a 1.
Good. I'm sure he'll be very touched.
Jeez. All right, and so who will probably give it the next highest score?
Well, are they going to go above a 1 or?
Let me see if Jake and Bradley. What will you give?
Can you top 1?
Well, as a whole.
Can you, as a whole?
Sorry, I'm a
Don't
little
talk about
bit drunk,
reproduction.
and
That's fine.
I'll give it a 7 overall. Your turn.
Okay, no offense, Alid, but you're talking shit.
Hey!
Woohoo!
That's
We love you,
cancelled.
Bradley. You can
So
stay.
I'd give it a 9. I just.
Oh, jeez.
Bradley, you're
I
talking
sort of
shit.
like-
It's out of order.
It's
Bang out of order.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
He's not coming back on.
No, seriously though. I'm glad you gave it a 9. Alex, what's your final say and score?
Well, let me see. Well, I think I'll give it a 7.5 because it is showing potential. I do like the cast.
Okay.
I'm not liking the story per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not liking the pacing.
Okay.
But at least it's better than Discovery, except for a few people from that show, like Michelle Yeoh and stuff like that. But like I said, I understand too that they have 5 series that they're trying to outright. So it might be a little bit more difficult than it's not like the first 2 series where they proved it. You either love it or you don't, and that's it. They've got so much competition. But yeah, I do like the fact too that they're not buddy with the Federation anymore. So that speaks volumes for it as well.
All right,
Go
and
to
then we'll
Lee.
go to Lee next, please.
So first 3 episodes, it's been good. I'm looking forward to the next. I can understand people saying about the pacing, but you've got to realise this is Picard in his later years. He's an old man. He's a slower man. He takes things easier. This has come out of the blue. So story-wise, I'm enjoying the story. It's slightly different to what we was expecting. I mean, you go back to the Next Gen episodes. Some of them were very good.
No, some of them are not very good.
So what shall I give it? I'm not gonna go full whack here because you've got more episodes to come. So 8.75.
8.115?
7.5.
7.5. Okay, respectable. Got it. Okay.
All right, and Susie, what will you give this,
Oh,
please?
well,
Final say and score.
it totally sucks. I hated every minute of it, of every single thing.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
So,
What did I tell you, Lee?
shit, sexy elf people. So, no, one of the things you have to understand about this particular show is Patrick Stewart has creative control. Everything that's in there has his stamp on it.
He's an executive producer, isn't he?
I'm not exactly sure, but
he's in the credits. Yeah, he's in the credits. Yeah.
They have this, how a lot of sci-fi shows, and even Who has sometimes his after-show discussions. Well, on some of those after-show discussions, they've said if he sees in a scene and it doesn't, sometimes he'll stop and say, no, the fans aren't going to, it's not fair to the fans, we have to reshoot it. Or no, the fans don't like that, we have to reshoot it. And so this whole series, slow, fast, whatever, he's equally an old man now. And the interesting part and how that translates is in the first episode, the most stark juxtaposition was at the end when the android daughter is fighting all of those sexy elf people, mercenaries, and and she's trying to get him to run, and she's pulling him up the stairs and trying to get him to come up the stairs, and he can't run up the stairs because he's an 80-year-old man. And in the old days, I mean, he was never a spring chicken, but he was probably in his 40s, and he was Mr. I'm, gonna fight you and run up these stairs, and he was Mr. Athletic. And oh my God, in the movies, he even worked his, his pecs there in First Contact. He looked hot, but in this movie, it's not who he is anymore. So he couldn't do that if he tried. And so that was a very stark thing. So this show is definitely for adults. I'm loving every single thing of it. I would give it a 10,000 million, much like I would give it Alan's review of Frozen 2 comparison. That's what I would do, because I'm really loving it. But I am a super fan of Star Trek. There's no question. I don't like all of the series. I don't like everything in every series, but I am a huge fan. And I'm loving every minute of this.
Yeah, just ignore her.
My only qualm about it is that it's not, I just want to watch it. I just want to binge watch it. I don't want to wait every freaking week. So until 12 o'clock when it comes on in the US, you can stream it starting at midnight on Thursdays. So that's what I've been doing. But I'm someone when the movies would come out. I lived in New York. When the movies would come out, I would go and wait in line for the first showing at midnight.
Sure.
Trek movies. So.
Sure, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. See.
So I was in line for Nemesis, the very last one with this crew, and then I was in line. I'd been in line for everything since Search for Spock.
Oh wow!
You've been in line a long time.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was in a long line, and
definitely.
Your legs must be killing you.
Well, I've never gone to a cosplay. I've always meant to, but I never have. But I should do that someday.
Let me suggest that you can do this with a great gold lame shirt, little turtleneck,
yeah.
And you got to get yourself a Star Trek communicator.
I was thinking of ordering one of those, and whenever we do this cast, I'll just put it on my shirt. Because nobody's in Star Trek uniforms anymore. They've just got that thing on their shirt.
Oh, yeah. Very, very good. Well, anyway, I'm glad for this show. I am really enjoying this show, and I mean, there's so much good stuff to watch these days, with the new Picard, with the Mandalorian, with the series 12 of Doctor Who.
That new show on HBO, has anybody seen it? The one with Hugh Laurie. Is that what you just said?
No, I said The Mandalorian.
Oh, I don't know what that one is.
That's Star Wars, and it's got Baby Yoda in it. And
I've only heard talk. I haven't seen it yet.
It's Susan's obsession.
Oh.
I'm obsessed with Baby Yoda, but I could get really obsessed with number one. Just the cute things. Anyway, so
Baby Yoda is amazing.
Yeah. So with so much to watch, I can't give this less than an 8.5 out of 10. It's really good. I'm really glad that that Picard is back. Yeah. I caught so many of the references. I just can't wait to see what the hell happens with this.
I know.
This Borg cube. I can't wait to help find out what happens with Data's daughter, and I want to see that. Maybe since Data, his positrons, maybe they created DNA. I don't really know, and I love how there's sex with her all the time with that Vulcan guy. he's or is he a Romulan? Is he?
I'd have sex with him too.
Oh, you mean the slave? The
I think you'd have
Romulans
sex with
are
anybody,
on
Jake.
the staff living at they are not slaves. They are not sexy elf people. It's just a joke. Anyone who's watching this.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know, and I think that Jonathan Frakes Riker's going to direct a lot of these episodes, so
Good.
that's also going to be cool
Yep.
because he's really cool. And so thanks guys for watching this podcast. Thanks guys for watching Picard. Thanks guys for being so nerdy and so into this. And stay tuned. We're going to be doing more of these kind of podcasts as well.
No, we're
not. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Bye, Alan.
We're never doing them again.
And I just wanted to say thanks, guys, for being in this podcast with me. And I'm really grateful, Cher, for your watching. I know that you have a soft place in your heart for Jean-Luc Picard, for Patrick Stewart. It's great. And I would ask that you would try and get his boyfriend, Ian McKellen, to watch these with you. So please, let's get that to be a thing too. And yeah, live long and prosper.